I love it when you 1-2 switch, but wouldn't it be nice if everybody could 1-2 switch? I'm Xeon from Nintendo Life, and today I'm joined by Jim Norman, one of our staff writers.
My mind is blown that you just came out with that introduction. Wow!
You have played Everybody 1-2 Switch.
I have played Everybody 1-2 Switch, and I go by Horace Norman now.
Oh no!
We are Team Horace the Horse all the way.
The game has completely changed you, eh?
I'm a new man.
How are you, Jim? Considering that you just came back from playing this game that the world is very confused about.
I am a little less confused than I was when I went in. Okay. My thighs are a little more sore. There's a lot of jumping, a lot of squatting in this game. It's a real workout, but I'm good. I'm excited to have a little bit more clarity on what's probably Nintendo's most confusing release of 2023, right?
Yeah, it does feel that way. I can't see how they can top that in any shape or form. I want them to. I like it when Nintendo gets weird, but I can't. This is pretty wild. It's a very strange release.
It's a big swing. It's a big swing. Only Labo 2 would be a more confusing release to me right now.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe Nintendo's got some spare cardboard boxes from all of the copies of Everybody 1-2 Switch they're going to be shipping, so they're just like, hey. Probably
so. This thing is going to sell like hotcakes, folks.
I'm going to take that as a joke. We'll find out the true answer later in the video. What was it like? What is this game?
So if you have played 1-2 Switch before, then you will know that 1-2 Switch, like the long history of Nintendo party games that have come before it, think Mario Party, think Wii Party, it's a collection of small minigames, small jokey gimmicky minigames, where it's basically just, it's too much to say it's a tech demo for the Switch, but it kind of was. On release, 1-2 Switch was a game which was all about, look at how cool our Joy-Cons are. Look at what you can do with the Joy-Cons. We've got HD rumble, so you can feel little balls rolling about inside. It's got motion controls, so you can milk a cow. This is what you can do with the console. And now, all these years later, we've got Everybody 1-2 Switch, which is basically the same thing.
Okay.
It's look at these fun little mini-games that you can do with the Switch, but they're different mini-games, and there are a couple of cool new features now on this one too, like mobile phones, like you can play with 100 people. I don't even know 100 people, but you can if you want.
So that is really that's a real thing in the game, is that, well, maybe I'm jumping the gun anyways, but you can just connect 100 phones to the game with like a QR code or something like that, or an app, or...
Yeah, and perhaps I've also jumped the gun a bit here, but yeah, you can... If you've ever played something like Kahoot, maybe, like where you get a game up on the big screen and everybody joins via a code on their phone, it's much like that. The game will show you a QR code, everyone will get their phone out, you'll scan the code, and then you're in. You take a Swift selfie, you add your name, and then you're in there, you're up on the screen, and you can play 13 of the games are playable by phone. Wow. Which is great.
I was kind of worried that it was going to be this really like cumbersome, you have to have the Nintendo Switch Online app downloaded, and you have to be logged in or something, you know, irritating like that.
Yeah, that's absolutely the kind of thing that you would expect, but no, the mobile compatibility is genuinely a fun little addition.
What was the setting like where you got to play this? Because I imagine I'm probably going to be using a lot of the footage from the 2-minute trailer that they put out in this video. But you know, in that video they showed like what, 10 or 20 or 30 people playing or something like that, and then they surprised with 100 people. I'm imagining this is not what your demo was like, but I could be wrong. What happened?
No, it should come as no surprise that a small room of British game journalists did not muster quite the same camera smiling confidence that all of the influencers did in Nintendo's trailer. There was, I'm going to say, about between 15 to 20 of us playing this game up on the big screen. We obviously had somebody from Nintendo talking us through what we were going to be doing, what was happening in front of our eyes, because sometimes it's a little more confusing than you might expect. And we started playing. A lot of these games are team-based, so you're split off into groups, but some of them are just straight up 1v1. And after we'd kind of broken the ice, the first few mini games with a group of people that you're maybe not the most confident around were a little awkward, but once you've broken the ice, you know, once you've laughed at Horace the Horse together, then there's a special bond that cannot be broken.
Do you think the purpose of Horus is to help, you know, I'll just break the ice then? Because like I think everybody agrees that Horus is weird, which is not you. Is it you? Are you Horus now? I forget. Are we in a timeline now where you aren't Horus is a different person?
Every day, the line between me and Horus is a little more blurred. Sometimes I wake up, I don't know who I am.
Okay.
No, I'm Jim. I'm Jim talking to you now.
Oh, good.
I was Horus. It was a time long gone. I think that you might be right. You know, kind of giving everyone a common enemy is too strong, but something that you can all laugh at together and, you know, poke a bit of fun at. Then all of a sudden, you're not the stupid one, the one that's waving the controller around or getting your phone out and taking photos around the room. You're not the weird one because there's a man on screen with a fake horse's head on. So perhaps you're right, yeah. Maybe we are getting way too in-depth about the purpose of Horus. He is just a funny host at the end of the day.
That's his purpose, really, in the game. Is he's... Because there's no playable characters in this. You are the character, right? So he's just kind of a figurehead that... Does he like narrate and tell you what to do? Or?
Yeah, like the comedy hosts that you have on almost any Nintendo party game. He pops up, he tells you what the game is all about, and then he disappears. He'll show you a little tutorial if you'd like. The tutorials are much like the shiny, glittery influencers that we saw in the trailer, in that they're all dressed in their finery and look incredible playing these games. We were a little bit more sweaty by comparison, but yeah, that's the purpose of Horus. He's just there to introduce you and then set you on your merry way.
Okay. So I won't ask any more questions about Horus then. I think I've gotten all my horse-related questions out of the way.
We're done with the Horus lore, yeah.
So I was actually excited to hear that you were saying that there are a lot of like just 1v1 games as well. One thing that I remember when the Switch came out, and you probably remember this too, but like, yeah, 1-2 Switch was kind of like this thing that had a bunch of tech demos, and there were cool things like the ice cube effect, right? With the HD rumble, you could feel that with the ball, like the ball rolling mini game, or even like the quick draw with there was like the Western Shootout game that was kind of fun, and there were little things like that made 1-2 Switch fun to play for a bit with the right group of people, but, you know, maybe only for so long. Were there any mini games that you played with this that you feel like kind of capture a bit of that, like, early Switch magic that make this experience worth looking into?
I think the important distinction to get out the way right at the start is that both 1-2 Switch and, to an extent, everybody 1-2 Switch should be a tie-in game. It should be a bundle. 1-2 Switch was like £50. I think it was $60 on release.
Yeah.
This one is that little bit cheaper. It's closer to 30 of each, I believe, off the top of my head.
I think you're right.
Which is admittedly better. There are fewer minigames in this one. There's only 17 in this one compared to the 28 that were in the original. But, you know, it's slightly better value for money. As for minigames that immediately I thought these are a winner, to be honest, they're mostly the mobile-based ones. A lot of the Joy-Con ones are games that we've seen before. There's a game called Balloon Pump where you hold your Joy-Con horizontally and then push it up and down as if you are pumping a balloon, like we've seen in countless other Nintendo games. It's a Mario Party game, for example.
Yeah.
But the mobile phone games bring something that's slightly new. Again, it's Nintendo going, look at the cool things we can do with our tech, just like the original one had, moving a Joy-Con around. This one, you get your phone in. There's a great game called Color Shoot, where a color will appear on screen, and then you are tasked, you're given 10 seconds to dash about the room and take a picture of something that resembles that color the closest. And it's a real frantic, everyone running around, all gathering around a post-it note that somebody spotted in the corner or a picture on the wall. That was one that I thought I can see the appeal for this. We're going to come back and play this one again a second time. Something like Balloon Pump, once you'd done it the once, then you thought, okay, I understand the purpose of this one. But there are a couple. Games of this form are always going to have some hits and some misses, right? It's just the natural way that party titles work. And I would say that there were more hits than misses in this one, but perhaps the longevity of something like Wii Sports isn't quite there.
You think people aren't going to, you know, grandma's not going to be yelling, or dad or whoever, and say, like, hey, can we play some 1-2 Switch tonight? I mean, we're not the families in this scenario, but you don't think it will have that pull necessarily from what you've played so far?
I don't know that it will have that pull. What I will admit is that it does seem that for a game called Everybody 1-2 Switch, they are genuinely trying to cater this to everybody. So there's the uber energetic games that you can picture a Nintendo trailer a week down the line of the little kids playing, where you have to shake the controller really fast to win. There's a relay race one where who can shake the controller fastest wins. And then there's a gradual curve down to ones which you might be playing with grandma. There's a literal bingo party mode where it's bingo. That's it. It's Switch bingo, which was not on, ironically, my bingo card for the year. But here we are. They are actually trying to make a party game for everyone. How successful that is, I don't know, because it means that some games are exactly what we've seen before, whereas some are just a bit too on the vanilla side. But credit where credit's due, there's a good range in this one.
If you're the kind of person who doesn't hang out with a ton of people, like if you only have like 2 to 4 people to play with, do you think that you'll have a significantly... Do you think there's risk that you'll have much less of a fun time or less of a game to play here?
Yeah, games like this ultimately like live and die on the group that you're playing it with, right? If you have a group of 100 people, which you can play with on this, but none of them are really that involved, it's not going to be as good of a time as if you only have like 2 to 3 mates that are really up for it and are, you know, down for a good time, a good stupid time with this kind of stuff. So it's very difficult to say exactly how each person's individual experience is going to be, because like I say, it comes down to how confident and up for it the group are. I don't think that you're going to have less of a good time with 4 people than you would with 80 people, because honestly, you're going to have more options for the games. You can play almost all of the games with Joy-Cons. Well, if you have Joy-Cons and mobile, then you can play all of the games. You can play almost all of the games with Joy-Cons, whereas if you have 100 people around, nobody has 100 Joy-Cons. So you will have more option. You know what? It's like any party game. I can see people having a good time with this anywhere from 2 people up to the maximum number. Honestly, I can.
I'm glad to hear that the game isn't just like that. The majority of it isn't focused on, you know, having to have that group play, because it did seem like with the trailer, it seemed like they were really pushing hard on like, in order to have fun with this, you have to have a lot of people. At least that was my takeaway. And so I'm glad. It's really nice to hear that that isn't necessarily the case, and that you might have more fun. You have more options, right? You were saying if you have a smaller group.
Yeah, absolutely. And that fundamentally boils down to the fact that some of these games are playable only with Joy-Cons. There are 4, I tell a lie, there are 5 games that are playable only with Joy-Cons. So you can't use a mobile phone at all for it. And there are 4 that are playable only with a mobile phone, so you can't use Joy-Cons for it. But that does mean that you have 5 extra games that you can play if you have a smaller group and you have enough Joy-Cons to go around. One of the things, going back to how much I like the mobile connectivity with this one, one of the things that's so great about that is because if you're like me, you have maybe 2 sets of Joy-Cons and that's it. So when you do have friends come around to play Mario Kart, it can be a slog. Someone has to sit out, you know, or somebody is playing with some crazy split pad and somebody else has got a Pro Controller and someone else is holding a Joy-Con on the side. This is like the ultimate leveling tool, right? If you have a game where everyone can just use their phone, and the phone does work like the Joy-Con, it should be pointed out. There aren't games, well, there are games that are only for the phone, but there are also games where half of the group can be using Joy-Cons, half of the group can be using phones, and it works, which is something that we haven't really seen all that much with the Switch, apart from maybe like the Jackbox games, which was connecting your phone to the screen and then just answering questions.
Yeah.
We haven't seen connecting your phone to the screen and then using the motion sensors in that phone to actually make something that resembles a Switch game, which is interesting and new, which is a great feat for a console that's been out for 6 years now.
This is a completely side tangent topic, and so I'm just going to mention it and then run away from the topic completely.
Go down it.
Xbox has like Xbox Smart Glass, I think, like an application that they never really, to my knowledge, I've never used it for anything, but I think the idea was to kind of use it like a Wii U gamepad, where like you cast things to your, or you connect it to your Xbox or through the internet, and then based on whatever game you're playing, like stuff will appear on your phone and you could use it for a map or whatever. And it'd be really cool if Nintendo would like kind of, and maybe they have done this for things and I just am unaware, but it'd be cool if they started or found ways to kind of bring some Wii U features over onto the Nintendo Switch Online app.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe people don't want that, but just I keep forgetting that, you know, phones are able to connect to consoles like this, and I suppose it is nice to see Nintendo is taking advantage of that in a way that as somebody who's just played, you don't sound offended by it at all.
I'm absolutely not offended by it. It works great for silly games where the objective is lift your phone in the air and put it back down again. I would not want to use it for Skyward Sword. You know, I would not
Sure.
want to be having a Joy-Con in one hand and like waving my phone around in the other.
Oh my gosh.
But it's never going to be for that. You know, this is much like 1-2 Switch. These are gimmicks, and they're fun gimmicks, but they're gimmicks.
So do you happen to have any favorite mini games or any particular things about this experience that you enjoyed
Like I say, I loved Color Shoot. There are some really simple ones. I didn't actually get a chance to play UFO, which is that alien summoning one, but we did play musical chairs, which we're simple creatures, us gaming journalists, and fundamentally at the end of it all, if you give us phones and tell us you have to put them on the floor when the music stops, we're going to have a great time with it. And it was really good fun. Everyone started off acting very cool, but then once the first half of the group have been kicked out, then all of a sudden everyone is walking around like with their phone as close to the floor as they humanly can to like drop it the second the music stops. That is great fun, and I would have happily gone for another round of that if my calves weren't like burning with the pressure of all of that dancing. So I loved musical chairs, I loved Color Shoot. In terms of games that you can actually play using the Joy-Con, because it is a Switch game at the end of the day, this isn't just some kind of game that you can get on any old browser. So in terms of games that I enjoyed with the Joy-Con, there's a fun one called Ninjas, which anyone who had Nintendo Land on the Wii U will get the idea of it. There was a game on Nintendo Land where you had to throw ninja stars. You had to hold the gamepad on its side and you would swipe up and a ninja star would fly off and it would fly towards the screen. Strangely, that is a game that Nintendo have gone back to with everybody 1-2 Switch, and you get a group of people, all of whom stand wherever they would like, around a person in the middle, and they all hold their phones and they throw ninja stars, exactly like you used to on Nintendo Land. And the person in the middle, it's their job, holding the Joy-Con, to swing their Joy-Con as if it's a sword and bat these virtual ninja stars away. Which, again, started off as quite a silly idea, and people quite self-consciously were swinging the Joy-Con, me included. But by the end, once you start seeing scores pop up about how many hits the Ninja Star team managed to get compared to how many like successful blocks the ninja got, then people really get their ninja on, and they started waving this Joy-Con around as if it was a katana and as if these stars are actually going to hit them. And it's a good, fun time. Again, the ultimate test for these kind of games is when it finishes, do I think I'd play that again? And with those ones, yeah, I did.
A lot of this discussion has been reminding, or a lot of what I've been hearing about this game is reminding me of like the Wii kind of like Play series of games, which I mean, it was short-lived anyways, but Wii Play had a few like awesome games in there. There was like a Pong style game, I think, in the first one, and the Wii Play Motion had like a rock skipping mini game that I loved to death, and I would go back to time and time again, and I would tell my friends like, yo, I know it's just a Wii Play game, but we gotta play the rock skipping mini game. Like, you get to pick your own rocks, and there's curve.
Me and my brother poured so many hours into Tanks on Wii Play, the first Wii Play. The Tanks mini game was phenomenal, and the fishing game was phenomenal. Like I've said, this is no Wii Play. Let me be very clear. This is no Wii Play. But even then, even in a god-tier game like Wii Play, there were still some duds. There was the fitting your me into... We're not on video, so Xeon is getting a treat of me demonstrating what it looked like. You had to fit your me into bubbles that came down, and you had to move their poses about to fit them in as they go. That never really gelled with me. It was no Tanks. And much like that, everybody 1-2 Switch has its successes and it has its failures. I just don't think that the successes are quite as successful, to continue using the same word, as they have been in previous party games.
Who do you think this game is for? Like, do you think there's a perfect audience for this game?
Everybody.
Dang it, I set myself up for that one.
I listened to your intro. No, I don't think everybody. This is something that I've gone back and forth about ever since I played the game. I don't know who this is for. 17 games, in the grand scheme of things, is not all that many games. Especially if, naturally, you're going to find ones that you like and that you don't like. There is, like all of these party-style games, there's a mode called Team Contest, where you guys will just plug in, you'll press Team Contest, and you can choose 20, 40, or 60-minute playthroughs, and the game will just give you 60 minutes worth of content. 17 games, and I should point out that there are variants of some of the games. So, for example, there's balloons where you just have to pump up the balloon to the size that it tells you and not let it pop. Then there's also Balloons 2, where you have to pump up the balloon, but it doesn't tell you what size. I think there's a Balloons 3, and a few of the games have that. But from what I saw, it's just the same game in slightly different wrapping.
And do those count towards the 17 total, do you think, too?
No, those definitely don't count towards the 17 total. So there's Ninjas, Ninjas 2, Ninjas 3.
Awesome.
That all comes under Ninjas, which is just one of the 17 games.
Okay, that's cool that all these games have flexibility then, right? Or maybe
yes.
not all of them, but a chunk of them do so far.
Yeah, there is flexibility. And actually, you raise a great point. That is something that I noticed on a lot of these different game modes. It was very customizable. So if you're doing the quiz game and you didn't necessarily like the kind of fastest finger first vibe, which I should add, you can make your own quiz. So you can make these things as easy or as hard as you would like. If you don't like the speed thing, if you're playing with Nana and she's always going to be a bit slower on it, then you can turn it off. And there are modes for people who live in tiny flats and don't want to make too much noise running about or jumping about. You can switch off, no, I don't want to be stomping my feet in this game, or no, I don't want to be having to swap places in this game. So that's all great and very considerate. It all seems as if it is made for everybody, but I just don't think that it is. It will be a fun little party game for 20 minutes if you have willing friends around, but after that, I think it's going to be one that sits on the home menu, and that's where it stays. We forget, when the Switch was launched, there weren't all that many games. People got 1-2 Switch because there was like 5 games for you to have, and nobody wanted to get Bomberman, so people got 1-2 Switch.
Poor Bomberman.
Poor Bomberman. I'm sorry. But now, we have literally games to last us until the end of time on the Switch. Nobody has got the time to play all of those games. So why, when Pikmin 1 and 2 HD Remastered came out last week, and we've got Pikmin 4 on the way in a few weeks, why in the time in between those two, when you could be working your way through this big Nintendo series that lots of people maybe haven't played before, why would you turn to a party game like this? Everyone, hand on heart, still has hundreds of hours to pour into Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, they should have just called that Everybody Tears of the Kingdom. It's sounding like you're saying at this point.
I am naming my horse Horace. After we finish this call, I'm going to find the biggest boy and name him Horace. Right, okay, that's all. Those are all of my thoughts on the game. I've cleared it. I've got stuff to do now, Xeon. I have to go.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Thank you for the chat. Thank you for filling us all in. I think it was very helpful. You did the world a service by going to play this game and figuring it out for us, because I think... I mean, I'm walking away from this actually like feeling more interested in the game. Surprisingly, I don't know if that surprises you or not. But I do feel genuinely just more informed, because the marketing is so confusing, and there's just lots of he said she said stuff online, and so thank you, thanks for that.
It's very confusing. It would be easy to say I have played Everybody 1-2 Switch, so you don't have to. If it hits a sale one day, I would say, buy it. Like I say, it's good. It would be good fun for an evening with a willing group. But is it going to change your life and be a Wii Party style, let's plug the Wii in and play this? No way.
Dang. Well, let us know in the comments down below if you're planning to Everybody 1-2 Switch. Even if not, maybe let us know why, or what minigame has excited you the most, or what kind of minigame you'd like to see in a 100-player setting, or even just in a 1-2 Switch sequel. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this, then why don't you name your firstborn after Horace, and then ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we put up new videos. Oh, and the subscribe button is actually your firstborn. That's why I said that.
Yeah, there's the legal disclaimer. Please do not call all of your firstborns Horace.
Is that on us?
Yeah, no, completely.
Do we share that burden?
No.
You're here now,
No,
right?
we don't. No, it's on you. No, I was never a part of that. Never. I want that on tape.
Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Jim, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was lovely to chat to you.
Of course. Stay safe out there, and we will see you all next time.
That's exactly what he sounds like. Horace,
Does he really?
He's in the room.
Jim, look in the mirror.
I'm not going to say his name 3 times because he'll come.
No, Jim, it's you. Look at your hands.
They are hooves.
Oh, no.
What have I